Memoirs of a Yellow Dog by O. Henry.
I was born a yellow pup. Date, locality, pedigree, and weight unknown. The first thing I can recall, an old woman had me in a basket at Broadway and 23rd trying to sell me to a fat lady. Old Mother Hubbard was boosting me to beat the band as a genuine Pomeranian Hamiltonian Red Irish Coach and China Stokes Pocus Fox Terrier. And the fat lady chased a V around among her samples of gross grain flannelette in a shopping bag till she cornered it and gave it up. From that moment, I was a pet. Mama's own woodsy squidums. Say, gentle reader, do you ever have a 200-pound woman breathing the flavor of Campbell-Bear cheese and Peau d'Espagne pick you up and wallop a nose all over you, remarking all the time in an Emma Eames tone of voice, "Ooh, ooh, oodlums, doodlums, woodlums, doodlums, bitsy, witsy, scoodlums"? From a pedigreed yellow pup, I grew up to be an anonymous yellow cur looking like a cross between an Angora cat and a box of lemons. But my mistress never tumbled. She thought that the two primeval pups that Noah chased onto the ark were but a collateral branch of my ancestors. It took 2 policemen to keep her from entering me in the Madison Square Garden for the Siberian Bloodhound Prize. And let me tell you about that flat. The house was the ordinary thing in New York, paved with Parian marble and an entrance hall and cobblestones above the first floor. Our flat was not quite 3 climbs up. My mistress rented it unfurnished and put in the regular things. 1903 antique unholstered parlor set, oil chromo of geishas and a Harlem tea house, a rubber plant, and a husband. Bi-serious? There was a biped I felt sorry for. He was a little man with sandy hair and whiskers a good deal like mine. Henpecked? Well, let's just say toucans and flamingos and pelicans all had their bills in them. He wiped the dishes and listened to my mistress tell about the cheap, ragged things the lady with the squirrelskin coat on the second floor out on her line to dry. And every evening, while she was getting supper, she made him take me out on the end of a string for a walk. If men knew how women pass the time when they are not at home, they would never marry. Laura Jean Ghibli, peanut brittle, a little almond cream on the neck muscles, dishes unwashed, half an hour talk with the Iceman, reading a package of old letters, a couple of pickles, and 2 bottles of malt extract, 1 hour of peeking through a hole in the window shade into the flat across the air shaft. That's about all there is to it. 20 minutes before time for him to come home from work, she straightens up the house, fixes her rat so it won't show, and gets out a lot of sewing for a 10-minute bluff. I led a dog's life in that flat. Most all day I lay there in my corner watching that fat woman kill time. I slept sometimes and had pipe dreams about being out chasing cats in the basements and growling at old ladies with black mittens as a dog was intended to do. And then she would pounce upon me with a lot of that driveling poodle palaver and kiss me on the nose. But what can I do? A dog can't chew cloves. I began to feel sorry for hubby. Dog my cats if I didn't. We looked so much alike that people started to notice when we went out. So we shook the streets that Morgan Cab drives down and took to climbing the piles of last December's snow on the street where the cheap people live. One evening when we were just promenading, I was trying to look like a prize St. Bernard. The old man was trying to look like he wouldn't have murdered the first organ grinder he heard play Mendelssohn's Wedding March. And I looked at him and I said in my way, "What are you looking so sour about, you oakum trim lobster? She don't kiss you. You don't have to sit on her lap and listen to her talk. That would make up the book of musical comedy sound like the Maxim of Epictetus. You ought to be thankful you're not a dog. Brace up, Benedict, and bid the blues be gone." The matrimonial mishap looked down at me with almost canine intelligence on his face. "Why, doggy," he says, "good doggy, you almost look like you could speak. What is it, doggy? Cats? Cats? Could speak? But of course he couldn't understand. Human was denied the speech of animals. The only common ground of communication upon which dogs and men can get together is in fiction. In the flat across the hall from us lived a lady with a black and tan terrier. Her husband strung it, took it out every evening, but he always came home cheerful and whistling. And one day I touched noses with that black and tan in the hall, and I struck him up for a elucidation. "See here, Wiggle and Skip," says I. "You know, I ain't seen the nature of a man to play dry nurse to a dog in public. I never saw one leash to a Bow Wow yet that didn't look like he'd like to lick every other man that looked at him. But your boss comes in every day as perky and set up as an amateur prestidigitator, doing the egg trick. How does he do it? Don't tell me he likes it."
"Him?" says the black and tan. "Why, he uses nature's own remedy. He gets spifficated. At first, when we go out, he's as shy as the man on the steamer who would rather play Pedro when he'd make them all jackpots. But by the time we've been in 8 saloons, he don't care whether the thing on the end of his line is a dog or a catfish. I've lost 2 inches of my tail trying to sidestep those swinging doors."
The pointer I got from that terrier, vaudeville police copy, set me to thinking. One evening about 6 o'clock, my mistress ordered him to get busy and do the ozone act for Lovey. I've concealed it until now, but that's what she called me. The black and tan was called Tweetness. I consider that I have the bulge on him as far as you could chase a rabbit. Still, Lovey is something of a nomenclature tin can on the tail of one's self-respect. At a quiet place on a safe street, I tightened the line of my custodian in front of an attractively refined saloon. I made a dead-ahead scramble for the doors, whining like a dog in the press dispatches that lets the family know that the little Alice is bogged down while gathering lilies in the brook. "Well, darn my eyes," says the old man with a grin. "Darn my eyes if the saffron-colored son of a seltzer lemonade ain't asking me in to take a drink. Let me see, how long has it been since I saved shoe leather by keeping one foot on the footrest? Why, I'll believe I knew I had him. Hot scotches he took, sitting at a table. For an hour he kept the Campbells coming. I sat by his side, rapping for the waiter with my tail and eating free lunch such as manna in her flat never equaled with a homemade truck bought at a delicatessen store 8 minutes before Papa comes home. When the products of Scotland were all exhausted except the rye bread, the old man unwound me from the table leg and played me outside like a fisherman plays a salmon. And out there he took off my collar and he threw it into the street. "Poor doggy," he says. "Good doggy. She can't kiss you any more." I said, "Darn shame. Good dog, you go away, get run over by a streetcar and be happy." But I refused to leave. I leaped and frisked around the old man's legs, happy as a pug on a rug. "Ah, you old flea-headed wood chaser," I said to him. "You moon-baying, rabbit-pointed, egg-stealing old beagle. Can't you see that I don't want to leave you? Can't you see that we're both pups in the woods, and the missus is the cruel uncle, after you with the dish towel and me with the flea liniment and a pink bow tie on my tail? Why not cut all that out and be pods forevermore?" Maybe you'll say he didn't understand it. Maybe he didn't. But he kind of got a grip on the hot scotches and stood there for a minute thinking. "Doggy," says he finally, "we don't live more than a dozen lives on this earth, and very few of us live to be more than 300. If I ever see that flat anymore, I'm a flat. And if you do, you're a flatter, and that's no flattery. I'm offering 60 to 1 that Westward Ho wins out by a length of a dachshund." There was no string, but I frolicked along with my master to the 23rd Street ferry, and the cats on the route saw reason to give thanks that prehensile claws had been given to him. On the Jersey side, my master said to a stranger who stood eating a currant bun, "Me and my doggy, we're bound for the Rocky Mountains." But what pleased me the most was when my old man pulled both of my ears until I howled, and he said, "You common monkey-headed, rat-tailed, suffered-colored son of a doormat, do you know what I'm going to call you?" I thought of Lovey, and I whined dolefully. "I'm going to call you Pete," says my master. And if I'd had 5 tails, I couldn't have done enough wagging to do justice to that occasion.
The end.